Hello everyone, welcome to March. It feels like just yesterday we were in October talking about the general preparation phase, and now we are in March. The competition season is upon us and we are in competition phase. So we have several months that the competition phase will cover, and we're going to go over some rules that will help us be the best when it matters most. How do we use these early season competitions to the best of our ability so that when it comes time for the state meet, regional meet, NCAAs, national championships, that you're throwing your best. You're in your best shape, your best mindset, and you're doing your best. It's going to be a little bit different for our high school throwers, our college throwers, and our elite throwers. So I have a little bit of a cheat sheet here. We have B's and E's. So B is build, right? So we are building fitness still. And E is execute. Execute means this is the time of the year where we are putting all of the hard work that we've done to use, and we are executing. So in the March-April timeframe, B's across the board. So whether it's high school, college, or elite, you are continuing to build fitness and build capacity. And we'll talk about that from a technical and physical perspective, what we're going to build and how we're going to do it in just a moment. In the May-June time frame, so for our high school throwers, this is execution time. So May and June, that's when all of our regional, state, national championship meets are going to occur. Same for college throwers. May, conference season. Late May, regionals, and early June is NCAA. So we are executing during that phase. For our post-collegiate throwers, we're still right between building and executing. So you're wanting to become more and more fit, express what you've done in competition results. But this year, the U.S. championships, they're not until late July. So we are still building. We don't want to get too far away from our training so that we don't have anything to fall back on in July. Then in July, August, for our high school throwers, this is going to be the time of the year where we're doing maybe our junior nationals, we're going to USATF nationals, and some other special events. So you're executing during that time phase. Same with college. So if you've reached a high enough level in college, maybe you're also competing at the USATF championships, maybe the U20 championships. And then particularly for our elite throwers, this is the time of the year where we want to be the best. This is where our national championships are. We have big meets. Possibly you're traveling to Europe to throw in the European circuit. And then if you're lucky enough, you're competing in the World Championships that are taking place in August this year. So during the competition phase, just like we've said for the other phases, what are our objectives from a technical and physical standpoint? So what are we doing technically? We are building trust in our technique. We've been training for several months now. We have a strong understanding of what we're doing. Now we need to incorporate competition stress and anxiety into our technique. So we're building trust to relax under pressure while we're still trying to throw as far as we can and raise the level of the competition and do our personal best so that everyone else does their personal best. We need to incorporate that stress, that level of tension into our technique. So we're building trust. How are we doing that? With early competitions. So as we start out, like I said, in March, April, maybe May for the elites, these are early competitions. We're really refining our cues and learning what it feels like to put some of our new fitness and our new technique into action in these early season competitions. For physical, so we are building / maintaining the javelin shape we have built. So we are at this point very well rounded. We've been possibly hitting personal bests in our sprints, in our jumps, in our lifts. We're reaching new levels of flexibility and mobility, throwing power. So we want to continue to build that during the building months, as I previously discussed, and maintain it. We don't want to get too far away from any of those training components because there's a reason that we're throwing far now, and that's because we're in a certain type of javelin shape. So we can't just forget and throw some of those things away. So the training program will make sure that we have maintenance levels that stay in touch with all of these training components. And how are we going to do that? Higher intensity, lower volume training. We'll mix in some potentiation or contrast methods where we're mixing lifts and jumps and throws to try to really stimulate our nervous system so that we can get the most out of it. This is the most fun time of the year. And I'll end with a handful of rules, right? So we don't have to follow all of these rules all of the time, but we want to follow most of them most of the time. So they'll be different for some people, but I want to give you some guidelines for how we can do our best in these early season, mid-season, and late season competitions. So, rule number 1, no lifting greater than 85% of your max, or RPE 8 to 9, 48 hours before the meet. So this is very specific to javelin. It takes a high level of nervous system freshness to execute your technique, particularly under competition stress. So if we're lifting very heavy 48 hours before the meet, we're dampening our nervous system. So not all the time, but I would say the majority of the time you would adhere to this rule. So there will be some exceptions, but we want to stick to these rules as much as we can. So rule number 2, no javelin throwing 24 to 48 hours before the meet. So I know that there are some people out there, particularly maybe some of our competitors that have thrown at USA's last year and watched Curtis Thompson put on a show the day before the meet, throwing over 80 meters and then winning the meet easily. So he's special, has a special type of fitness. For now, 24 to 48 hours before the meet, we want to refrain from javelin throwing. Again, to ensure that our nervous system is fresh and that we can go into that meet with a high level of capacity, and then really execute. So as you get older, as you build more fitness, this is a rule that you may find that you want to avoid, but for now, I would stick to that. So the 5 days prior to the meet, I want to see at least 2 rest or active recovery days. So that's limiting the volume of training so that you can go into these early season competitions and give it your best. So that doesn't mean we're taking every day off, but we have enough rest days so that we can go in and give it our best shot with this highly technical javelin event. And then the last one, this will help us limit the volume of training we're doing during that meet week. So during a meet week, all lifting sessions are less than 45 minutes. So that doesn't mean they have to be easy, but we want to get in and get out. Have high intent, do the work, and get out. We don't want to take extra time, do extra sets, or waste our time in there. And then the total training session from warm up to cool down is going to be 90 minutes total. So we want to try to get in and out in 90 minutes. So be efficient, understand what you're doing, get in and get out. All right, so competition phase, it's where it's at, right? We did all of this training, we got into great shape. Now it's time to let ourselves shine. And this early competition phase is critical, right? To stick to your plan, trust the technique that you've built, and let it shine through so that when it comes to May, June, July, we're throwing personal bests at the championship meets. It's going to be great. Good luck.